I want to hit the present button. Okay. So let me know if you can see what I'm sharing.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Again, folks, just a brief introduction. This is Muthu. We will continue from where we left last week. I'm guessing that there are no issues if in case if I think no, that's okay. We'll do it in English, right? So that way, in case if anybody non uh, Tamil speakers join, it will be confusing. So we'll do it in English as usual. So um, yeah, we will continue from where we left last session. Primarily, last session, we probably spent about 75% of the time or 80% of the time on going through AWS VPC in general. VPC being one of the very fundamental um, service. Uh, we spent quite a bit of time covering all the different aspects of VPC, starting from regions to AZs and all the different components that enables VPC. Essentially, VPC is what is going to give an organization which is moving away from on-prem to cloud to have their own private data center in the cloud, so to say, right, by providing all the constructs needed, which otherwise they have in their on-prem, like network infrastructure, subnets, and routers, and all the security infrastructure such as NAT and other things. So the bare essential minimal things that they have to set it up today. On top of it, they will then be able to layer on their compute infrastructure, their storage infrastructure, and all the other identity management and all those things, right? So we did cover what is a VPC, or what is region, what is AZ. So we probably will not be taking a deep dive on all those things. And the main agenda for today is to spend almost all the time on the console, try to build a VPC, a simple VPC that you can use to start your journey, so to say, and you can layer it on and you can start building more advanced services. If your focus is on security, then you can build on that. If your focus is on setting up database or applications and things like that, then you can build on it. So that's the goal. So we will try to cover as part of this, all the different things that we talked about last week, like subnets, what is subnet, route tables, gateways, the essential internet gateway and NAT gateway, and also we'll touch upon the security aspect of it, like NACL and security groups. So just to follow up on one of the comment, I think we kind of discussed last time around. I think Kanak, you asked. I think Aru kind of clarified also. I did some more digging. So I think we came to a conclusion that we can have more security groups attached to an EC2 instance, and the net effect of the security would be union of all the rules from all the security groups. One additional thing that I kind of found out is there is a limit. You can have only a maximum of 5 security group attached to the EC2 instance. So I just wanted to throw that out based on the research I did. So again, uh, I'll try to spend probably 30-40 minutes. If I can finish it faster, that's fine. Then I'll hand it off to Aru for him to give an overview about the AWS certification. So that's the second half of the agenda for today. So just a quick note, to be able to complete this lab, right? So, I mean, the expectation is for you all to soak up as much as possible, and go back home, and when you have some time, you want to just try this. There are plenty of resources out in the internet. You can use this or other resources as well to try it out. That's going to be the important thing, right? Uh, to tell you frankly, I spent quite a bit of time on something similar to AWS. Uh, so, but despite of that, right? You really need to, I can say, hey, I know theoretically how this thing works, but that's not going to be sufficient, right? You need to have hands-on. So AWS gives us this free tier account for a year, and we have to leverage that, and that's it's a big boon, and we can leverage that and get real hands-on in very short span of time. So uh, do create an account if you don't have, or else it will give an impression that the things are sticking in your mind, but trust me, it will just quickly evaporate, and unless you like Kanak said, he's probably working on this day in day out, and probably for those kind of people, if you're doing it as part of your day job, that's fine. Probably you don't need that. Or else, if you're getting onto the AWS journey and you're looking to switch to a cloud carrier, hands-on is going to be very essential, and just think about that. And and the one important thing is the way AWS builds, right? Even though it's a free tier, it's all capped. They have a threshold even for the free tier, so you have to be mindful of that fact, and just try to understand, as you use any of the service, see how it's structured, how the billing process works, what do they give for free allowance, free tier, and that's going to be very important, right? Not just from the point of view of that AWS may start billing you in case if you cross the threshold, but also as part of your job, right? So when you go for an interview, and when they may ask some questions around that, and it helps to learn those as well. And also, of course, when you go to the job, it really is important to understand not only the technical aspect of how AWS services are structured, how it works, but also it's equally important to understand the billing aspect of it, right? So, and I make it a point to just shut down the service, and as soon as I'm done. So uh, that's everybody out in the internet, they recommend that, especially for the free tier. So that kind of helps you to uh, stretch your allowance, so to say. So what is the goal for this session is what is laid out in the slide. So we're going to be building this. I didn't have time to animate this. I would have really liked to animate this and do it in a step by step, but it doesn't matter here. So we will build a VPC, right? That's what is shown on the uh, you know outermost box, and we are kind of abstracting. I'm just calling it as a VPC. We'll do it in one region. The kind of account I have. I don't want to talk more about it. I'm not using a free tier account, but I do have a student account, so I use that, and that kind of limits my access to only one zone. But when you guys try, you can try this in any zone that you would like. But I'm kind of abstracting that layer here. So we will, for this lab, just to keep it simple, we'll be just focusing on one AZ, one availability zone. But this very well can be, spread across multi-AZ. But, our goal is not to build a, super high available infrastructure. It's for learning purposes, right? So I'm just kind of trying to keep it simple. So we will create two subnets, a public and a private subnet in the AZ. And the goal is to, try to instantiate a externally accessible web server. That's what is going to be sitting in the public subnet. And we will have a sort of a EC2 host in the private subnet that will not be accessible from the external world. But yet, it can go out to the internet in the egress direction. So we'll see how we will be able to do it with the help of the NAT gateway and the Elastic IP. So internet gateway is what would be used primarily to reach the internet from the public subnet, both in the ingress and egress direction. So I think that kind of covers most of the aspect of it. And one important thing is, obviously, when we create this VPC, we kind of touched upon that. You need a CIDR. If you're going to be operating on a default VPC, default VPC would come with a /16 cider. But here we are going to be creating a brand new VPC from scratch. So you ought to have some planning done ahead of the time, such as what cider you want to use, what is the cider range you want to give it from that bigger cider range for the public and the private subnets and all those things, right? So which is what I've given in this picture as well. So that sort of kind of summarizes the goal for this lab. So we'll be, I have few slides. I'll quickly walk through that and we'll quickly jump onto the AWS console and do all those things. Any questions as to what the goal for this lab is? And of course, once we spawn this or once we instantiate these EC2 instances, we'll check to see if it's accessible from the external world. Obviously, the goal is to make sure that it is accessible. The EC2 instance sitting in the public subnet should be accessible from the internet, and that should not be the case for the EC2 instance in the private subnet. But yet we want to be able to access the instance in the private subnet. We'll see how we can do that. We'll touch upon the Bastion host or the jump host concept. And we'll make sure that at least the EC2 instance sitting in the private subnet can go out to the internet in the egress direction. So in this lab, one important thing is, I will be deleting the default VPC. But if you are in your production environment, obviously, you have to be very careful. Don't do that. If you're in your free tier account, you can do that, not a problem. So, and the numbers that are shown in parentheses is kind of signifies as to what we would be using for this lab. Number of elastic IP and number of subnets and things like that we would be creating. Okay, so moving on, I think I kind of summarized most of the information, but when we create the default, when we create a custom VPC, I think just to keep it simple, we will be deleting the existing default VPC. But as I said, don't do that, unless you know what you're doing, and especially don't do that in a production environment. If it's in a free tier account, it doesn't matter, for your learning purposes, that's fine. There are a couple of things that we have to keep in mind for this lab. In the previous in this slide, I mentioned that we had to create elastic IP, and we would be creating a custom VPC. So since we are going to be creating a custom VPC with the public and a private subnet, and the private subnet, and I'm going to be using a wizard, just to keep it simple, right? So whenever you use the wizard to create, wizard would give 4 options. We'll quickly see that as well. And we would be selecting one of those options, option number 2, which would help us to create a public and private subnet. And since there is a private subnet, obviously you would need a NAT gateway to go out to the internet. For that, you would need a static IP, which is called as an elastic IP. So you need to create that. Long story short, you need to create that to start with first before you can use the wizard. So that's why in the ordering, I've kind of mentioned that create the elastic IP first. Then you launch the wizard to create the VPC using the VPC wizard. And in that, we'll be selecting option 2. And we would be using the EIP or the elastic IP that we created in the previous step. So, we'll go through all of those things. Finally, we'll launch the instance and we'll do the test, as we mentioned earlier. So I have some screenshots. This would be really handy later on when you guys want to just give it a try on your own. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we are going to be walking through the console. So with that, I'll just quickly jump onto the AWS console. Any questions so far? Okay, we have 20 minutes. Okay, I have used 20 minutes, so or maybe 15 minutes. I'll quickly, um, I'll try to speed things up. I think this should go relatively quickly. So any questions, folks?
Yeah. All good, Muthu. So continue. So we'll stop and ask question if we have.
Very good.
Yeah, I
Excellent.
think that would be better.
Thanks, Kanak. Okay. So before we go back to the VPC console, I just wanted to quickly give a snapshot of what's there in the EC2 RAM as well. We would be using only these two services today. Between these two, everything that we wanted to do can be achieved. So as you can see, there are no instances currently running. All we have is a default security group and a keypad. Just ignore the snapshot. I forgot to clean that up. So there are no instances running, but at the end of the exercise, we would be left with two instances, one sitting in private and one in public. Likewise, I'll just go to the VPC console, and in the VPC console, let's quickly take a look to see what are the resources that we have by default. I have only a default VPC. I'm part of North Virginia, so I have 6 subnets because it has 6 AZ. We have one main route table. We have one internet gateway, and this DHCP option set is, what is going to give us. It's enabled for this VPC. So any instance that we spawn here and need a DHCP will get that. By default, you get a NACL and a security group. So these are the resources that we have right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go blow away this, right? And we will start with a clean slate. So as you can see, we have this default VPC because this is a default VPC, right? Default VPC, yes. So I'm going to go delete this. So let's start from scratch. So I have to acknowledge, and I have to, just type this exact thing. Just to acknowledge that I am deleting. Anytime you can go back and recreate the default VPC, not a problem at all. But you don't want to do this in a production environment. This is a lab, and for learning purposes, we are doing it. So, but anytime you want, you can go back and you can put it back. So right now we cleaned up. We deleted, the default VPC. As part of that, internet gateway and all the subnets have been deleted. And along with that, all the other artifacts like a route table and internet gateway and all those things are also gone. So pretty much, this is a clean slate, except for the DHCP option, right? So now what we will do is we'll launch the wizard to create um, a VPC using the option number 2 I mentioned, as I mentioned in the slides. So this is going to give us a public subnet and a private subnet. So all you have to do is, it just shows in a pictorial way as to, how it's going to look like, right? So you will be left with the private subnet and public subnet, internet gateway, and also you will have a NAT gateway, which is what, would be used by the instances in private subnet to go out to the internet in the egress direction. So I'm going to select this option, and I need to obviously provide some information as to what the CIDR is going to be associated with for this VPC, right? And I'll just give a name as uh, ATM demo VPC. Okay, so I have to give an IP address associated with the subnets for the public and the private. Since we said we want one each private and public, uh, I'm going to just go with whatever I have put in that slide. So the subnet range that is going to be associated with this are derived from the CIDR that we have. We have a /16 CIDR. From that, I'm using a /24, and putting that for a public IP subnet, and another /24 from the same range for the private. And this is something that I'm sure you guys, we touched upon it, I think, last time. So even though there are 255 0 to 255, which is 256 address, we're not going to be able to use 5. So I hope you all remember. In case if you don't remember, we can take it offline and we can discuss, or you guys can go research to find out as to why only 251 IP addresses are available. Obviously, two are being used for, one for network and the broadcast, one for the local gateway or the router, one for the DNS resolver, and one is reserved. So I just, okay. So one thing that I forgot to do is, I kind of mentioned in the slide and I forgot to do that. So we have to create a elastic IP first, right? So I'm going to cancel this and let's go do that, and we'll take care of that first and we'll come back. So an elastic IP is something that AWS gives for free, one elastic IP, right? So when you have a situation where we have to use more than one elastic IP, then you will be charged for the second elastic IP. So you got to be careful. So I'm going to, go request that elastic IP. And since I don't have any other elastic IP, you can see there are no elastic IP address found for this VPC in this region. So I'm going to request one, and uh, so right now it's been allocated, but it's not associated with anything. So now I'll go back to the dashboard. We will see one elastic IP is being created. That's been created. So now I'll go back to the wizard, option 2, select, and I'll just quickly update the subnet ID for this /24. Now I'll pick up the elastic IP that we just created. This is all you need to do. Everything else you can just leave the default, especially the tenancy and the enable DNS, VPC name, American Tamil Media Demo VPC.
Muthu, question.
Yeah, just 1 minute. I think it may complain. I cannot use dash, I think. I forgot. Maybe if it complains, I'll go back and change it to underscore. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Question on the elastic IP. So the elastic is basically the public IP, so that people from outside the internet, they can reach that VPC, right? My question is why it's called elastic IP. It's basically a netted IP, right? Netted public site IP.
You're right.
So why they calling it the elastic? You can attach any number of host to be guided, or how?
Yeah. So I think the idea behind the term elastic is, let me just quickly jump onto the slide. Okay. So this NAT gateway, right? It's a so for our example, elastic IP is going to be associated with the NAT gateway, and it will do as you said, it will do a overload kind of a translation, right?
Correct.
So everything from private subnet would use that. So, and this is a managed gateway, meaning it will elastically expand in case you have enormous amount of traffic that needs to go through it. It would have to be scaled. For example, the scaling part automatically AWS takes care of it, right? So maybe to start with, you just need only one gateway to cater to your needs. But in case if it grows out of bounds and you need to have more gateway, then the service is going to elastically, it's going to expand. And IP also, you need to have an additional elastic IP, right? And it will get automatically be allocated for you. So, and this, I don't know if I'm effectively answering this question. So basically, as you rightly said, elastic IP is nothing but a static IP, which is not going to change. Even if you bounce the box, if it goes down and it comes back, once it's associated with it, it's going to be bound to that, right? So, but it has the capability to, stretch, in and out in both directions. And, in AWS, Elastic is used everywhere, right? From Elastic Network Interface to Elastic Block Store to Elastic File System, it's Elastic everywhere. So,
I see.
Muthu, let me also add one more thing to that.
Sure,
It's a good
sure, please.
question, Kanak. So here, Elastic IP also, it's a public-facing IP, static IP, and we all know that public-facing routable IP is very expensive resource, right? It is a scarce resource. So we have to be mindful of using that. But if you have, say, two instances running in your VPC, two EC2 instances running, and you are using one as a primary, the other one as a standby or failover. So your Elastic IP can be bound or attached to your primary instance. And in case of any failover, you don't need to make any change in your application. You still have the application pointing to your Elastic IP, but now attach your Elastic IP to your standby instance. So in the backend, you are making the switch, the static IP pointing to your any instance in that VPC, and your application still goes to the same Elastic IP and results to the instance behind that at that point of time. So that's another use of Elastic IP. I just wanted to add that. Hope it makes some sense.
Right. Okay. So we can continue. So my question is basically the term elastic. It's related to the performance, or how many nodes you can attach to, how many EC instances you can attach to one Elastic IP, something like that. So my question is basically on that.
Okay.
But we can take it up after this. Actually, we don't want to spend time.
Let me take one more try. Okay. So elastic means not the number, but it can be attached to any other private IP or EC2 instance. It is, you can disassociate and reassociate to a different IP. That way it is elastic.
Okay, it doesn't matter like how many instances behind the Elastic IP.
It will be pointing to only one IP address in the backend.
Oh, just one-to-one?
Yeah. If you want to have, if you want to have more number of instances taking the load, then you will have something else: availability groups, auto scaling groups. So that is a different.
So basically, the Elastic, it's one-to-one netting.
Yeah, and you can move it around anytime. That way, it is elastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the key concept, I guess. Yeah, you can. It's the primary secondary. Good example. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I didn't think it's a one-to-one netting. I thought one to multi netting. Yeah. Okay.
It's one to N also. It's one to N also for NAT gateway, right? When you use it for NAT gateway, it's one is to N. It's an overload. It's an overloaded NAT.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a property of a NAT gateway. NAT gateway. It actually it takes care of having its own elasticity or scalability in the backend depending on your traffic amount.
Okay.
Earlier, it used to be called a NAT instance, which means only one instance. Now they call it a NAT gateway, which means it can have n number of instances with one entry point.
Okay.
Sorry, Muthu, go ahead.
Okay, no problem, Maru. Thanks for your inputs. So we just created our own VPC now. So if you had noticed, I mentioned that in the slide. So when you create this, it takes a minute or so, under a minute, especially because when you have a NAT gateway, it takes that extra time, extra few seconds to do that. If you don't have if you're just trying to create a general VPC without a NAT gateway, it will be done in no time. So we have created a VPC, and as you can see, this is not a default VPC, right? And we can see that the CIDR that's associated with it is the /16 that we created. Now let's spend a couple of minutes to just quickly go back to the dashboard and see what are the different resources that got created as part of that. As you can see, we have one VPC, two subnets, two route tables. It's an interesting thing. We'll talk a little bit more. And we have one internet gateway, and we already manually created this elastic IP, so there is no change there. One NAT gateway got created or added, and a default NACL and a default security group also got created. So just a quiz. Anybody want to take a crack at why we ended up with two route tables? We'll cover it in case if you don't have the answer, not a problem. Just to provoke your thoughts and see if anybody has an answer.
So we created a public and private, right?
Correct.
So for each sets, there is a one routing table. One for private, one for public.
Correct. That's I think in a high level, I think you got the answer. We'll dig a little deeper as to why we need that, and I think that's a correct answer. Yeah. So let's quickly look at the different artifacts, subnets, right? So we have two subnets, private and public. So let's quickly select one of them, and they will try to find out a little bit more about the properties of this subnet, right? So we have all the details, but the couple of interesting things that I would always look are under the tabs, route table tab and the network ACL tab, right? So let's look at the route table tab. So here, if you notice, there are two entries, right? So any resource that you instantiate and associate that with this private subnet, the traffic that needs to be forwarded in and out of that subnet is going to be governed by this route table. So this is route table number 1, right? And it has two routes. One, a /16 route saying this is my local, it's connected to my local subnet. And there is a default route, right? So the default route points to a NAT gateway. So this is a very interesting thing that you may want to keep in mind. Any destination that is not reachable within the local net would be punted or would be sent to the NAT gateway. So that's how we need to read this. So we will look at the public subnet, and we will look to see how it differs in terms of the forwarding, in terms of how the route table looks like. So now let me quickly jump onto the network ACL. And by default, there is only one NACL, and NACL is something that's associated always with the subnet. And it has a allow all rule. So there is only one ACE. So anything that has a star is, it's the implicit deny. So, but above that, we have a rule that's starting with the number 100. So the ACE or the rule number can start from 1 all the way to 65K, I think. So the first rule allows everything. So that's the default property of NACL. By default, it allows everything, which is not the case for the security group. We'll see that. So now I'm going to just toggle that, and let's quickly look at the public subnet, and let's go to the route table. The interesting observation is now we still have the local route, and we have a default route that points to the internet gateway. So that means by default, this resources that are going to be associated with this subnet have direct access to the internet. That's why we have the route with the next stop pointing to the internet gateway. But if you compare that with the route table of the private subnet, it was pointing to a NAT gateway. So that's a very important thing that you want to keep that in mind, and that kind of answers a little bit more than I hope it's clear. And if you guys have any questions, and this is an additional piece of information that would really help you all to connect all the dots, right? So that's why we're just trying to drill in. So we saw the route table, so I don't want to spend more time.
One question. Can I say the route to internet gateway means it 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 can invite traffic from the internet to this particular subnet, which is incoming from internet, and the private subnet has NAT gateway as a target, which means it has the ability to go out. Can we interpret that?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. So any network that is connected to, let me just quickly go to the, so maybe I should have put a line from the public subnet to the internet gateway. Let me just quickly do that. I think that kind of makes sense. So what I want to do is I want to draw a line. I'll tidy up this and I'll make it to look nicer later. So I just wanted to create a bidirectional arrow. Right here.
அங்கேயே இருக்கே arrow அந்த பக்கத்துல போங்க ரைட் சைட்லயே.
You see the arrow?
முதல்லயே அந்த பண்ணீங்க மேல இருக்கா அதை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க. line end.
Just have the
the type. Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. I think you all that's get fine. The point. So we'll
or put another line, inverted arrow. Then that makes sense.
Correct.
Copy paste
yeah,
and
okay.
yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That's a good idea. Okay, got it. Thanks, Kanak. Yeah. So I think conceptually, we all get the point. And Aru, I think this is what you are kind of alluding to, right? So any net that has the default route pointing to the internet gateway can attract traffic from the internet. Any traffic from the internet, can reach the public subnet through the internet gateway. So it has the bidirectional access, whereas from the private subnet, the private subnet has only access into the NAT gateway. I should have done this probably. Thanks for that. I will do the cosmetic changes later on. Okay, that's a good point. So anything else, Aru, or we can just keep going?
Yeah. Good. Move on. Let's move on.
Okay, all right. So internet gateway, nothing fancy there. It's the important thing is, you can have only one internet gateway per VPC, and it has to be attached to the VPC. You can see that it's attached, and this is the VPC ID that we just created. And Elastic IP, we already saw that. NAT gateway is the last one I wanted to quickly show. So this again got created as part of our wizard. And the key thing that you want to see is it's attached to the Elastic IP that we created. So this 132.53 is the Elastic IP that we created, which is what is shown here. And the ENI is what we should be worried about, or we should be focusing on. This ENI is what is attached to the NAT gateway. This ENI would match the C317 would match the ENI here. So C317. Okay. So we have everything that we wanted to have ready. We just have to go kick off the EC2 instances. Okay. So let me go back to the EC2 services. We don't have any. So I'm going to go launch an EC2 instance. So free tier only. Okay. So what I want to do is I have an AMI that I'm going to use it for. I kind of curated this with some, actually, yeah, let me select this AMI. We'll do a, T2 micro instance type. So we are at the step 2. I think we already talked about the 6 steps that we have to go through to instantiate this, right? So I'm going to say I want to spin this in a public subnet. So I'm going to select that. And I want a public IP. One other thing that I want to do is I want to have a startup. I want to start up the web server automatically. So I'm going to go to the advanced detail and going to put a user data. I hope you're all familiar with this, right? So we covered that I think we covered that last session, and also I think Aru may have covered uh, earlier as well. In case if you guys are wondering what we are trying to do, all we are doing is we are actually trying to add some kind of a shell script when the instance is created, as part of the boot up process, this bash script is going to be executed. As part of that, all we are doing is we are doing a yum update. Since I'm using a AMI type of Amazon Linux, which is kind of a CentOS based, it's going to do a yum update just to do a repo, update, and it's going to install Apache web server. And I'm just enabling it using the system control command. Also to make sure that it's, enabled for automatic startup in case if the instance goes down. And finally, I'm just writing, something into the index.html. This is what we would check to see if our instance is running, because I'm just echoing a string with the host name. So when we test it, we will check to see if it's if the web server is running. So all we are doing is selecting the instance to run in the public subnet, and making sure it gets an IP address, public IP address. That is a setting which we can use to make this as an automatic thing also, and I didn't do that. Next, I'm going to go to the next step and add a storage. I will just go with the default EBS of 8 gig that we are getting, just the root volume. I don't have any other volume. We don't need to for this. So I'll go to the next step and add a tag. Just give a name. I'll just say ATM. So security group. So this is an interesting thing. What I want to do is I'm going to start with a default security group, right? So there is a default security group. We will see the effect of attaching this, right? I'm going to go review and launch. So we selected Amazon Linux, AMI image that I had. It's a T2 micro instance type. We are using the default security group, right? It sort of summarizes all the different things, and instance detail, all the different things that, we selected essentially, right? So in which subnet it should be and all those things. So essentially we selected only that and the public IP, assign the public IP. And storage and other things, we are going to leave it to the default. Now I'm going to say launch. And this is an important step. So the key pair, right? All the, management of this instance is going to be done using the SSH. So I already have a key pair. In case if you don't have, you have an opportunity to go create a new key pair, but I'm going to use my existing key pair, right? So I acknowledge that I have access to my key pair, and that's it. So we are going to launch the instance. So once we launch the instance, the expectation is the web server should be running and we should be able to access that, right? But as we will quickly see, we will not be able to access this web server to start with. Anybody wants to, take a quick, crack at why we will not be able to see able to access this web server? While we wait for, actually it started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and see if we can I'll try to open this in a new tab. Obviously, this will not work. Yeah, since we are running out of time, I'll just quickly, tell the reason. The reason is security group. So we attached a default security group. As you can see, the inbound rule says by default, the security group is going to allow traffic only from this source. The source is nothing but the security group itself, meaning any resource that is attached to this security group, only they can talk to each other. So we need to go and update this security group, or we can go and attach a new security group, which is what we are going to do. So I'll just say, go change the security group. Right now, we are not going to be able to access. So I'll say, okay, I was hoping that I can add a security group here. So let's go create a new security group. Create security group. I'll say public security group. I'm just giving some, okay, we have only one VPC. I'm going to add a rule. So the first rule I'm going to do is, let's start from little, right? So I'll start from, okay, let's try to ping also, right? And I wanted to show that also. So let's see if we can ping, right? We try to check if you can access through SSH. That didn't work. And let's see. I'm just copying this. Okay, I'm not able to ping, right? Let's try to SSH as well. So this also is not going to work. Okay. So now let's go update the security group and see if we get lucky. So I'm going to just say add SSH. Okay. From anywhere. Okay. So again, this is something that is not a good idea. You may want to just selectively add rules to lock it down. I'm going to just, for now, I'm going to just allow from anywhere, since it's just a test environment. Allow ICMP. And I'm going to add another rule to allow HTTP. So those are the three things that we want to open up. Okay. Now all we are going to do is we are going to create a security group, and we will just go attach this new security group to our instance. So we already have a security group attached. We are going to layer it on and add a second security group. Or I'm just taking a little bit longer. Sorry.
No issues, Muthu. This is important.
Okay, thank you. So
the default security group has no rule, no inbound rule to accept traffic.
it has. We'll quickly check again. Kanak, I'll just apply it. We'll quickly check that. So we have the default security group. I'll just go to the default security group, right? So it has the inbound rule. As I said, by default, the default security group will have only one inbound connection, which will allow everything, but as long as it's sourced only from the resources that are using the same security group, meaning any resource that's attached to this will be able to talk to each other. So
I got it. So it's mostly allowed internally, not from outside.
Exactly. Yep, you got it. Yep. So now we'll be able to ping, which we confirm, right? We can see the response, and I'm going to try to SSH. So the EC2 user is the default user for the AMI type of Amazon Linux, and I'm using that, and I'm able to SSH to the box. So you can see that it has a private IP of 10.0.0.177, right? So which we will go and confirm. We have only one instance running, and we were able to SSH and get into the box successfully. Now let's see if we can access the web server that by default it tries to go to the TLS 443 port. So I'm going to just change it to port 80, and we can see this is the content of our index.html. If we look at the var HTML index. This is what got written as part of the, the cloud init file. What log is it? I think if you look at the cloud init log file, right? This is what we put that as part of the user data. And at the end of it, it just installed a web server and it created a index.html file. So this kind of concludes half of what we wanted to cover. I just have to do launch a second instance, and Aro, can I take another 5 minutes and quickly wrap it up?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so we did this part now. We launched the EC2 instance in the public subnet, and we kind of confirmed that we were able to, go out and come back from the external network. Since let's make sure that we can go out from here as well. We can do that. The fact that the web server got installed and all those things also confirms that it had external access. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the instances and launch a second instance, free tier only. So I don't want the web server and things like that. So, if you want, you can launch Ubuntu also, doesn't matter, but I'll just go with the AMI Amazon Linux type 2. We'll again select a T2 micro. So the important thing is private subnet. We want to launch it in private subnet, which is selected. And we don't want an external IP. Even if you have an external IP, it's not going to work. So for the heck of it, let's try to enable this as well and see if that makes any difference. It should not. I'm not going to put any user data because we don't need any web server and things like that. So add storage, step number 4. Next, we'll add a tag. I'll just call it as a EC2 instance in private. Okay, security group. Okay, again, we will do the same thing. We will go with a default security group, right? So the default security group, if we attach, we know for sure, we will not be able to access. So can somebody take a, let us know what do we have to do to, provide some sort of access to this box, because it's sitting in an island in the internal private subnet. Obviously it doesn't, it cannot be accessed from the external network, but what do we have to do to be able to access this box and manage this box and test this box? Can anybody take a guess? So this is where we have to create a, bash and host, right? So I'm just going to create a new security group called private security group. Okay. And I'm going to allow SSH. Okay. So, but I want to allow SSH from only, anybody want to take a guess? So let's say, I'm going to say, okay, I want to be able to manage this box from our instance that we have in public segment, right? So I'll select this. Allow SSH from public web server, something like that. I'm just giving, okay? I will also add a rule saying that I want to be able to do a ping test also, right? So I will say, allow ICMP also from the same security group. So this would provide me an opportunity to manage this box and test this box from the other, instance that we have. So now I'm going to go review and launch. Everything looks good. Only thing that we have to make sure is use assign public IP, yes, and the subnet should be a private. So I'm using the key pair that I already have. So now the idea is we will have a second instance launched. It will have a public IP, but we will not be able to access that from the external network, but we should be able to access that from the, other instance that we have. So now I'll go to the instances. We will have a second instance coming up shortly. I'll just select this. See, it does have a public IP, but it will be of no use. We'll not be able to ping that. We'll try that. I copied it. So I'll just go to other tab. This would never be reachable. Control C. Now what I have to do is I have to get the public IP, private IP, and I'll go to our public instance. This is a public instance. So from here, I should be able to ping this because we allowed a rule, right? And I should be able to access EC2 user. Right? So as you can see, we have an IP address in 10.0.100 range, right? So if you recall, 10.0.100 range is associated with our private subnet. Private and, let me just VPC. I'm just opening another tab and go to the VPC. Okay, this timed out. Doesn't matter. Okay. I just have to. Just bear with me for a minute. I just have to launch again. Subnets. So when we created the VPC, we assigned 10.0.0/24 for the public and 10.0.100 for the private. And that's what we are seeing here under our instance. So, we can select the public and we got the IP address from 10.0.0.0 range. And for EC2 instance in the private subnet, we got 10.0.100 range. And we kind of confirmed that this private instance is accessible. It's accessible only from our other instance, right? It's not accessible from the external network. So this sort of one last thing that we have to check is whether this guy has external access to the internet, because a private instance should still be able to go out to the internet. It does have the access to the internet. Okay, so one thing that we can quickly do is, what if I go remove the ICMP access from the security group, right? So we'll do one last test and I'll hand it off to Aru. So this is the private SG is the security group that we attached to the private instance. So right now we are allowing ICMP. I'm going to edit the inbound rule and I'm going to blow away this ICMP. Okay. Now we should not be able to ping. Wait.
That's the inbound rule, right? So what you're doing is outbound.
Outbound, yeah. So yeah, since it's a stateful, you're right. So I need to put in a block rule. You're right. I need to, yeah. In the outbound, everything allowed. You're right. So now what I'm going to do is Okay, so you cannot do that because we cannot do a block rule on the security group. So what I have to do is I have to go to the NACL and then I have to do it. So I'll go to the NACL, right? So we'll just muck with that. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the inbound rule. I'll add a rule, say 110 ICMP. Okay. Deny. Save.
Will it be inbound or outbound?
It will be inbound, right? So doesn't matter. So even if it can go out in the outbound direction, the return traffic is not going to come back, so it will block.
Oh, okay.
Oh no. Why?
Does it need a bones or something?
So ICMP is denied. Oh, we have the allow everything on the first rule. So I need to toggle the order. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Make it 90 or something.
Yeah. Okay. So now it should. Okay, good. Some live troubleshooting. Okay. Yeah, I think that kind of concludes whatever we wanted to cover today, Aru. Sorry, I took a little longer.
There is one question from the chat from Chandrasekhar Kayambu. How to stop the EC2 instance so that you don't get billed?
Yeah, let's do that now. So if the question is how to terminate an instance, is that what the question is?
Yeah, stop or terminate. Even if you stop, you won't get billed, right?
Correct. Yeah,
so,
that's correct. Yeah. So you select the instance that you want to terminate or stop, and you just go to the, whatever option that you want to do. So in this case, I'm going to terminate. I don't need, as a best practice, and that's what I've been doing just to, keep my free allowance, right? So you just go and terminate this or stop. So for the
once you terminate, that's gone. If you stop, you can come back tomorrow and restart and work from where you left.
Yeah, the EBS, that's a very good point. Thanks, Aru. So the EBS that's attached with that would be blown away when you terminate. But there is again a setting that you can control with saying that, hey, do you want to blow away the EBS, the root volume, when you terminate, or you don't want to do that? That's again can be controlled. But by default, what Aru said is right. So when you terminate, everything is going to be attached to that, EBS, everything is going to be blown away. So I'll just show you that we'll stop one of the instance, and the other one I'm going to terminate, right? So once it's terminated, it takes, sometimes a few minutes for the, cleanup to happen, but it will disappear. This instance that has been terminated would disappear from the list, but the stopped instance would be there, and you can go and relaunch it. You can restart it. I hope that kind of clarifies. You can go to the volumes, right? So the one that we terminated would be gone. I probably should have shown. So this is the instance that's associated with our stopped volume, stopped instance rather. So the other instance, the one that we launched for the private, the EBS volume that's associated with this, it's gone. As you can see, you don't see that in the volumes, right? So you can see only the volume that's associated with the stopped instance. This is the difference, important difference that Aru was saying. Okay, thanks, Aru. I think if there are no questions, I will stop here and I will pass the ball back to you.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Muthu. And I think there are 4 people sticking on, including Kanak and Kumar, apart from V2. So, Just want to let them know I pinged one link. They can join the WhatsApp group that we have to discuss anything on the AWS cloud side
Okay.
for a continuous discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Muthu. It is completely a different experience, better experience compared to just reading or watching some video. This is more interactive, and you showing how to play around with the security groups and route tables, and especially when the steps you do does not fail, it makes it more real. Oh, okay, so that's not the right step. We have to do something else, and that's what makes it more realistic and more valuable.
Thanks, Aru, for your kind words, and it was a good learning experience for me to do this, and thanks for the opportunity. And you know, I look forward to learning more from everybody, and we'll see how we can take it forward. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so with that, let's jump into the certification side. Um, uh, I'm not sure how many of you are interested in getting certified, but just to, if you go to AWS training and certification website, right? You go to aws.amazon.com, and there you will find training and certification link. So that will give a high level overview of what are the different level of certifications for different roles AWS offers. Hope you can see my screen. I don't have any slides, but I will navigate through the website.
Sure.
And there are a lot of trainings that AWS also offers, which companies can afford. It will be expensive for individuals. But there are third-party training content materials that you can use. We will cover that later. And just to see what are the certification paths available, right? I just want to see where to go. There are 3 different levels in the certification. I'm not getting the right page here. They have one for the cloud practitioner, which is a very beginner level. Okay, here it is. So this is the foundational level course where even non-technical people, meaning whoever has some knowledge, fundamental knowledge, can get certified on this cloud practitioner. That is the very first step in the certification. I have seen some people involved in technical sales having themselves certified on this. And even business executives who are not, hands-on like us, they'll also get certified on this. Just to have, just to know what are the services that are available in AWS. So it's that kind of, what is S3, what is EBS, what is EC2, that kind of introductory certification. That's very easy for all those folks who are here. But if you want to, start easy, you can start with this. But I have seen most of the people who are in the technical side skipping this part. Okay, skipping and then directly coming to this associate level. When you come to associate level, there are 2 major categories. One is DevOps. See the DevOps here, developer and operations. For each of those part of developer and operations, there is one associate level certification. And then architect, which is very common, among these 3 or among all the certifications over here. We have like 12 certifications here. Yeah. The solutions architect associate is very common. That's where most of the people like us will start. But if you think you are more stronger on development side, or if you are stronger on the system administration side, you can start here also. But I would say as a best practice, start with a solutions architect associate. For the reason being, it covers um, almost all the services from the infrastructure point of view. And when you do the other certifications like operations and developer side, you will have some strong foundation already. So I would say start with this, and then if you are into this area, I am not a developer, so I don't think I will ever take a developer associate certification. But I have been working in sysops for some time, so I can take operations developer operations associate certificate. So that is at associate level, and then the toughest one is the AWS architect professional. That goes really deep on the entire architecture part. And this is also even tougher because it is a one single DevOps professional certificate. So these are generic certificates, but there are certain specialty certificates where I think to attempt this specialty certificates, you should have one of these associate level certification. That's a prereq mandatory.
Got it.
And yeah, any questions?
That's the question I had. You answered it. I was going to ask if there are any prereq for the specialty, or if you can go straight there. But I think you answered it.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry, I missed that. What was that? So you can go to the specialty, if it's a advanced networking, you can go directly, or
no?
Yeah, you have to complete one of these associates, and then
you can jump on
specialty. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a network professional. So like, so should I take a sysop administrator associate and then jump onto advanced networking, or I had to take the solution architect associate, then go to advanced networking?
I would suggest everybody to have a solutions architect, even if you're a sysadmin or a network admin. Solutions architect associate gives a broad overview of all the important
services.
Yeah. And then you can also optionally take sysops admin, and you can focus on your specialty.
Okay.
But these prerequisites are, it will keep changing. AWS keeps changing the prerequisites. So I'm not surprised if they say there is no prerequisite, you can directly take one specialty, because they keep changing, revising the terms and requirements. So as the name suggests, right, this is advanced networking, where you will do very deep level learning on VPC and related networking area. And then on the security side, right, encryption and other security certifications that are available in AWS. So anything around the security. Security is a very important role in AWS. Everything is built with security in mind. So they have a vast majority of material on security. Then the machine learning, artificial intelligence. I mean, it is still called machine learning, but there will be some artificial intelligence also part of that. That is that revolves around the SageMaker and maybe some data science related content. That's something I have yet to explore. And Alexa skill builder is a very rare specialty where you can develop something and make it available for Alexa. It's voice recognized. It's completely serverless. So that is a very cool technology upcoming, and there are very few people who know and who does that.
I see.
And the bottom two are completely data related, data analytics and database. So database touches all the, I think 14 database engines they have, right? When you come to RDS, you have RDS, Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, MariaDB, MySQL, and then you have Aurora.
Aurora. Yeah.
Yeah, Aurora comes in two flavors, Postgres and MySQL, and then they have DynamoDB, DocumentDB, and the key spaces,
Neptune.
TimeStream, yeah, Neptune, and the Quantum Ledger database.
Hmm.
So all these databases will be
Or
covered.
you have finished that, is it? You have finished the database specialty also? Or,
Yes.
very good. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I have finished that. And
so you have three different certs, right? You have solutions architect, associate, professional, and specialty in database, is it?
No, I don't have the professional. I only have two.
Oh, okay. It's still very good. Okay, excellent. Okay.
Yeah, SA associate and then database specialty.
So
Very
how
nice.
long each certificate will be valid once you take it? Let's say you take the solution architect associate. So that will be valid for 1 year or 2 years?
Yeah. Earlier it used to be 2 years validity, and now they changed to 3 years.
Okay.
Not bad. Yeah.
So it's valid for 3 years, and within 3 years you need to take another one, advanced networking, or or database. How that leads?
Yeah.
Let's say you finished solution architect, then you took a database, right, Aru? I hope there is at least 1 year or 6-month gap, right?
Yeah. So if there is a prerequisite for taking any of the specialty or the professional level certificate, at that point of time, your prerequisite certificate must be valid and current.
When you take an exam for the
next level.
Next level, I see. Okay, but once you finish the next level, then you still have to renew both, or just the top level it's enough?
I think at that point of time you have to renew the advanced one. But I'm not sure if there is something called a renewal.
Like a renewal means basically re-exam, right? Validity, let's say it's a 3 years validity.
Yeah.
Let's say you are a database specialty, right?
Yeah.
So it will be valid for 3 years. After 3 years, if a certificate, you still have a knowledge, but the certification itself is invalid, right? I mean, you cannot claim that anymore. That's what they say, right?
Correct.
And if you have to take it, you have to renew it. You can just renew the database. You can just retake it after 3 years and get the official certification. But you don't have to take the foundation. I mean, the other one, right? The one before that.
Yeah, that's right. But even now, I'm not sure if there is a prerequisite. I think they removed it. We have to check that, because usually they put it over here. What is the prerequisite here? So it may be like freelancing. If you can do it, you can come and do the specialty. So the terms get changed frequently. So let's go back to the last one, right? Data analytics. This talks about all your analytical database, like including EMR. Like it is the Elastic MapReduce, which is equivalent of Hadoop. It's not equivalent, it is an implementation of Hadoop in the cloud. Hadoop with Spark. Okay, so it covers that, and also it covers your Redshift database and other data lake concepts, where you store the data in S3 and use Athena and QuickSight kind of tools to run analytics and dashboards on S3. So it's the data analytics is at that level with all the analytics and data warehouse and big data. Earlier, it used to be called big data. There was no database and analytics, but starting um, first quarter of 2020, they split it into two different specialties. And also, data analytics will cover stream processing like Kinesis, and then Kinesis Firehose, those kind of um, real-time data stream processing. Other than that, to prepare, I used, okay, so I'm going to talk about how I prepared, and what are the options available. Before that, if you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you have to read a lot on AWS website, which will give you really good in-depth on the services. So they have all kind of white papers, right? In the documentation, if you go, you will find a lot of white papers on each service, and that is what is going to be very useful to prepare. And they also have some sample questions, but it's very handful, like 10 questions or less than that. You can prepare on this. And they'll have a lot of links pointing to where you can read more on those particular subject. So that is one. So white papers and documentations are another good way of preparing. But I'm not a guy who can sit and read the white papers. Right? Each white paper is like 100 plus pages. And if you prepare for a solutions architect associate, S3 will be 100 page, and then database will be another 150 page. EC2 will be another 150 page. I will not have time to read that. So I took the other better options which I liked. Audio and video is what my mind is more aligned to rather than reading. So that way, Udemy is a good service. If you go to Udemy, you may find some deals going, on holiday seasons, and they'll have a lot of specialty courses available, especially for AWS certifications. They have all the courses available. Solutions architect.
Hey, Stefan Marek is good. Udemy. Stefan Marek, he has
Okay.
the first one. Yeah, that guy.
So
That's
these are
good.
all expensive courses. I will always look for the course when it is on sale, like 80-90% discount. So
Sorry, yeah. The thing is, for Cisco employees, right? They give us access, so I didn't even look at the price. So.
Okay. Yeah, this is an expensive price for me. I
Oh,
got
really?
the course for $10.
That's not bad. Okay.
Yeah, in 2017, I got it for $10. I studied for about, maybe I would say I started, and then I failed in the first evaluation set of questions that course offered, just to see how much we know in AWS services. I failed in that. Then I kind of, my moral broke down. I just set it aside. I said, I'm not going to do it. And then after like a few months, I thought, let me, try it again. And then I passed in the evaluation test. And then
Okay.
I got the moral boost.
Very
and
good.
then started reading it. I literally spent almost 10 hours a day. And I was preparing all weekdays, weekends, and I maybe 3 months it took me
Mm.
with a full-time job going, extra time I was putting for this. I somehow wanted to work on AWS technology, the cloud technology. So I took it as a challenge. After 3 months, I had very less guidance and study groups or whatever forums at that time. It was a struggle at that time. And then after 3 months, then I said, okay, I'm ready for the test. And then took it and I got passed in the first attempt.
Very good.
Then I started my job search on the AWS, and then I got some few contracting positions. That's how I landed. And during the preparation side, I actually used the Cloud Guru's certificate course offering in Udemy. That guy was good also, Ryan Kronenberg. So I used that. Also, I used another service called WizLabs, wizlabs.com.
I see.
That's why it took me so long, because one course maybe I can complete in 1 month, but I took 2-3 different courses just to make sure I am covering it thoroughly and I can pass it in the first attempt. So these guys also give discounted rate courses. You can look for it. You don't need to be in a hurry, because you have to finish at least one course, which will take some time. And meantime, if something goes on sale, then you can buy the second one. So that way, if Cloud Guru or Udemy guys, they miss some content for the certification, the other guys like WizLabs will cover it. And there was also another Linux.
I heard this Linux Academy. I heard this.
Yeah, that was also good. Now, Cloud Guru has acquired the Linux Academy.
Oh.
Yeah, they merged around 1 year back. So these are the resources you can go and buy. And one more, okay, so these are all theoretical resources you can buy, but definitely hands-on is the key. As Muthu mentioned, unless you do the hands-on, you will forget everything. You have to struggle, fail, and fix, troubleshoot. That's the only way you will learn the real thing. Okay, getting certification is one part, but for your satisfaction, you should know things, how it works. So do the hands-on thing also. So that's where the free tier account helps. I think now Cloud Guru, if your companies can buy the account for you, right? Ask your companies, if there are 10 guys interested, if you 10 make a request, and if the company can subscribe, you will get free access. And in that, you can take any course you want. It's not just AWS Solution Architect Associate. You can take every course that is available into that. They'll have thousands of courses. Maybe DevOps or machine learning. Everything you can take, like Lambda, DynamoDB, everything. You don't need to focus only on particular certification. You can do bits and pieces, a la carte kind of thing. So that is also one good way of doing it. And they also have GCP and Azure training, so you can learn in parallel for GCP as well as Azure. Though AWS is the market leader, sometimes we can compare and contrast. Right?
So Aru, let me ask you a question. So let's say you become comfortable with the AWS services. How easy it is, or how similar what Azure is offering in GCP? Will it be the learning curve, I'm guessing, it's not going to be that steep, right? Or do you have experience with GCP Azure as well? Or in case if I do AWS, can I just retool myself quickly and look for a job in Azure and GCP as well? Or how does that?
Yeah, Yeah, it's good. You once you become AWS certified, the other things are almost comparable services.
I see. Got it.
The
Okay.
names are different. Google will say compute engine instead of EC2.
EC2. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Azure will call it virtual, Azure virtual machine or something like that.
I see.
So the names are different. In AWS, everything starts with E. Most of the things starts with Elastic. And in Azure, all those things are replaced with A for Azure.
Hmm.
So,
Got it.
but otherwise, conceptually,
Concepts are all okay.
same.
Got it.
Yeah. And then when it comes to the interface, it is different. I felt that AWS was much better um, in terms of working hands-on. It is easy to navigate. The user interface was much better. Azure was lacking a lot. Those user experience kind of thing was so bad. I was struggling to work on Azure. I had to build an environment in Azure for an equivalent that I built in AWS. And Azure was like, spinning my head. And I felt that, I can compare if you have worked on Oracle database earlier days, and you will have, as a DBA, you will have some kind of experience and satisfaction. And if you switch to SQL Server database, you will find it okay kind of thing. It's not up to that enterprise level database. That's how I felt it. Just that kind of difference I saw comparing AWS and Azure. I mean, things are changing, things are maturing day by day, so it may be different now. That is my 1.5 years back experience, because they are still in the catch-up mode. But to answer your question short, yes, you can compare and contrast. Conceptually, it is all the same. And for preparation, you can also buy practice questions, practice exams. So after you do all your courses, buy this practice course, practice exam. They will have maybe 3 times more the questions that AWS will have in the real exam. So that way they'll cover most of the scenarios, and you can have a confidence before going for the real exam.
Oh, okay. This is not bad. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the core part of the certification I wanted to touch upon.
No.
If there is anything else specific, maybe we can have it later discussion. Today, I think we
How much the actual exam?
$300.
$300. So if you fail first time, that's it, $300 gone, or you will be given a second attempt.
Yeah, I think it's per attempt $300. I think
4 attempts. That's what I'm asking. So you pay 300 and then you can take 4 times.
No. Per attempt is it?
Per attempt. For each attempt.
For each attempt, you have to pay 300.
I think so. Yeah.
Let's
What is
prepare
the
well and do it in the first time, Kanak. Let's not.
Yeah.
even think about
I know. Like what I'm asking, like you said the four attempts, right? What does that mean then?
No, I said per per attempt.
Oh, per attempt. Oh, okay.
For each attempt.
Oh, I thought $300 for 4 attempts.
No, but they may have some kind of pricing where they will say within 1 month, if you come and take, reattempt, there may be no fee or less fee.
Concession.
Yeah.
Kanak, let's quote Aru and say, hey, your employee, Mr. Aru, said 4 attempts, not per attempt.
I cannot speak, on behalf of their.
No, I was just kidding. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So time is key. You have to finish the exam fast. Okay. It will take long time to read the scenario and then understand and then choose the right answer. That's why you have to do this practice more. So you can save time and finish it on time.
So the
Oh,
passing
really?
criteria is a 90% or 80%?
It depends.
It
It is a
depends.
percentile kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they keep revising the courses, introducing new, revising the exams, introducing new questions. There will be some beta questions which will not be graded.
But Aru, what you're showing is specialty, right? You know, so I got confused. I thought it's only a 2-hour exam, right, for the essay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the
Oh,
it's
yeah,
$150. Okay, yeah, okay,
$150.
not bad. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to the money part, but I thought it was a 2-hour exam for the essay associate.
Yeah,
Solution.
yeah.
What is the $20 there practice exam?
If you want to practice exam, you can buy for $20, I think.
That
From-
will be included on the 150. Looks like.
From AWS itself.
Yeah, but looks like the $20 included in the 150, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you take a practice, then attempt the exam, that will be 150 minus 20.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, really?
I think so, because that's how they put it, right? I don't know.
But I don't know how many times you can do the practice in this. But if you buy it here in Udemy, it's all yours. You can take any number of times. But this is high price. You should look for less than $20 price on some sale, Christmas sale or something, or New Year sale, and you can use it for your lifetime.
Yeah, I'm giving myself another 2 months, Saru. So maybe February I'm planning to take. Because past couple of months I couldn't spend much time. I'm hoping to spend a little bit more. We have like a 10-day shutdown this December, so I'm hoping to spend some additional time there, and maybe February I'll take the test. So,
Okay. Yeah, but if there is any discount sale coming on for the courses, buy it because it will come maybe once in 2-3 months or so. So if you buy it during Christmas, New Year time, you can use it in whenever you want. It is available there for you anytime.
yeah, I was just after you showed me, I was looking at. We have access to Udemy from Cisco through Cisco,
Oh,
right? I see this. It's all available for us. All the employees. It's
okay.
Oh, it's free. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Muthu, are you already working in AWS and then doing certification along with it, or you are?
No, Kumar. I used to work in similar technology. There is OpenStack, right? So I worked extensively on OpenStack, so I'm able to associate, but I'm not working on AWS in my current job. No. So it's all self-learning, I guess. So the free tier and all those things are all helping, I guess. So